few months ago, I went through some enemies from older Zelda games that I'd love to see return in Tears of the Kingdom, just like how Breath of the Wild reimagined the Lynel and the Hinox. I drew up some artwork to go with each redesigned monster. Go check that video out if you haven't, or if you'd like to see more of my artwork, drop me a follow over on Twitter or check out my website, links for both in the description. We got a new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom last week, so here are 5 more concepts for enemies and bosses I'd love to see return. The Helmerok King is perhaps the Wind Waker's most iconic boss. It's the giant bird that kidnaps Link's sister Aryll at the very start of the game, Ganondorf's minion that nests in the Forsaken Fortress. Link eventually takes back his sister and smashes its mask with the Skull Hammer, but if the Helmerok King returned in Tears of the Kingdom, what could it look like? Scholars from before the kingdom's fall believed that encounters with ordinary birds like the aggressive Kargarok were responsible for the myth of the chariot-sized Helmerok King, who dropped out of empty blue skies to steal children from their homes. But, as Link discovers when he climbs above the clouds, the scholars were wrong. Hyrule lives in the shadow of the Helmerok King, a foul creature who has haunted the skies since ancient times. The Helmerok King's feathers are as hard as iron, but a stone mask guards a vulnerable skull. We've seen from patents filed by Nintendo that Link will most likely be able to use his bow while in freefall, which is an incredibly cool concept. What if, just like how Link can run into surprise overworld boss encounters in Breath of the Wild, he's able to fall into surprise overworld encounters in Tears of the Kingdom? A massive enemy like the Helmerok King drops out of the empty sky and Link can fight them with his bow. We've seen at least one new flying enemy in Tears of the Kingdom, so hopefully we'll see a lot more. Aquamentus is one of the most iconic monsters in the first Zelda game. It's the boss of the game's first dungeon. It's a dragon with tiny wings and a single horn on its head, which attacks by breathing fireballs from a distance. It's only appeared since in Oracle of Seasons, a spiritual successor to Zelda 1, so what if it made a return? A young girl at the woodland stable claims that she's seen a unicorn, a fairy tale creature believed by many to be little more than an old myth. Link listens to her story and sets out in search of the fabled beast, and in a forest clearing, he encounters it. Though it's not a unicorn, it's an Aquamentus, a powerful, winged monster with a single horn on its head. Its relatively small wings compared to its bulking mass mean it can only achieve very limited flight, and so it nests in forest clearings, which it will fiercely defend. Those who mistake the Aquamentus for a peaceful fairy tale creature meet a quick, violent end. The horned dragon feasts on curious children and opportunistic poachers alike. Aquamentus is a pretty conventional dragon enemy, but its horn gives it some character, and it has the prestige of being the very first Zelda boss. If Tears of the Kingdom has us revisit the very same Hyrule as in Breath of the Wild, I'd love to see it populated further with even more overworld bosses. Bubbles are another enemy dating back to Zelda 1, floating skulls that haunt dungeons. They're often completely invulnerable to normal attacks, and can curse Link if they come into contact with him, rendering him unable to use his sword. They've shown up in almost every Zelda game since, but not Breath of the Wild, where we did see cursed Stalheads, the skulls of monsters possessed by malice, which are very similar to Bubbles, but not quite the same thing. Tears of the Kingdom seems to have a particular emphasis on spirits. There's of course the mysterious spiral of green-blue energy that closely matches the flames which surround ghosts. So Tears of the Kingdom could mark the return of some of the Zelda series' undead enemies. Here's a design for the return of Bubbles. The labyrinths below Hyrule's surface echo with the wails of lost spirits, wandering souls doomed to forever haunt forgotten dungeons. The most malevolent and twisted of these trapped souls manifest as Bubbles, spectral visages laughing in the darkness. As spirits, Bubbles can't be harmed with conventional weapons, nor can they directly harm living beings, though all who encounter these evil spirits suffer a terrible curse. Bubbles have appeared in a huge number of games, and function in a number of different ways. They're at their most interesting when they can afflict Link with a curse, which prevents him from using some or all of his items for a short while, making him vulnerable to attacks with no means of defending himself. Again, it looks like Tears of the Kingdom will have a strong focus on spirits and the souls of the dead, so I'd love to see a classic undead enemy like the Bubble make a return. Like Bubbles, Wall Masters debuted all the way back in the very first game in the series, giant hands that appear from dungeon walls to snatch Link and take him back to the entrance. They've since appeared in a whole bunch of games, mainly 2D like A Link to the Past, but also in 3D with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, where they're downright terrifying. They hang from the ceiling like oversized spiders and drop when Link walks beneath them. If we actually do get to explore cave systems below Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom, how would I want to see the Wall Masters return? Those who explore the darkness below Hyrule must keep their wits about them. Disembodied hands cling to the ceilings of forgotten caves, waiting to drop on unsuspecting prey. Ancient Hylians believed the Wall Masters to be the hands of the many-armed god of death, but they have since faded out of living memory, sealed far below the kingdom. A looming shadow is the only sign of their approach, a sign that means death for all but the most skilled adventurers. Wall Masters are some of the most unsettling enemies in the series. There's something about giant hands dropping from the ceiling that just makes my skin crawl. Tears of the Kingdom might be a lot darker than its predecessor, so I'd love to see the return of this classic enemy. In the newest trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, it looks like there's something up with Death Mountain. The volcano now spews out malice instead of lava. Perhaps whatever's happening with Ganondorf underground is causing malice to erupt from below the surface, like we see with Hyrule Castle. If Death Mountain now bleeds with malice, what's happened to the Gorons? We could see the return of more fire-based enemies like Dodongos and Helmasaurs, or perhaps the mysterious evil counterpart to the Gorons. Once, Death Mountain's burning heat kept travelers away from its rocky slopes. Now, a darker force holds the mountain hostage, and its roads are empty. The evil pouring from the earth swallowed even the mighty Gorons, and Ganon's malice poisoned their minds. Like many before them, the Gorons began their agonizing transformation into monstrous puppets controlled by the beast. Only, the Gorons refused to obey. Driven by bravery, honor, or perhaps sheer stubbornness, the brothers refused to move. As their minds began to decay, they curled up into boulders. Now, they litter the barren slopes of Death Mountain like statues. Their minds are lost in shadow, but their bodies have hardened into stone, imprisoning the evil inside them within a useless shell. Those who encounter the wretched Nedgerons beware. Ganon still lives within them, and, if approached, they explode in a cacophony of malice and living rock. Nedgerons are found around the Ikana region in Majora's Mask. They're strange creatures resembling Gorons that smell of gunpowder and explode when hit. With Death Mountain engulfed in malice in Tears of the Kingdom, I'm incredibly excited to see what has happened to the Goron tribe. Perhaps we'll see some more sinister enemies in the area like Nedgeron, now that it's under Ganon's control. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't checked out part 1 of this series, then click the card in the top right or the link in the description. This video took a huge amount of work to put together, so if you liked it, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.